for tuning into Creative Habits Podcast. Today we have SnowGawd, a good friend of mine. We worked together in the past. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's a nice, beautiful day. I decided to do this outside, so I'm doing real great.
That's good. How are you experiencing the COVID pandemic?
Um, I had this conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago. It sounds very terrible, but I've been like thriving through it a little bit. Throughout this whole, stay in place situation. I mean, I've been staying in place, just doing nothing but work, painting, drawing, a bunch of other stuff. So.
What has this quarantine life done for your artistic practice? Like, I know you said that you're painting, but has it brought you into a space where you can create more work or different ideas?
It definitely brought me into a space where I can experiment more. Before this, it was just strictly painting, many layers, kind of like giving like a comic book kind of feel. Now, this whole pandemic situation, I experimented more with textures and stuff like that. So I bought more things to play with textures, a little bit of patterns here and there. So like I said, it sounds terrible, but I've been kind of thriving off of it.
That's good. So you did mention that you previously worked with comic book styles and themes, and I see that a lot in your work. Is that where your inspiration stems from?
Part of it, yes. Comics, cartoons, anime, just pretty much like that, kind of like cartoonish media. I love that. That's what I was raised off of. That's all I kind of really watch today as an adult. So yeah, that's
So
definitely
what was your childhood like, and how did that influence your artwork?
My childhood was completely different, actually. I was raised up playing nothing but sports, baseball, basketball, football. I would draw in between, during school. I used to get in trouble for drawing too much in school, but I never thought I want to be an artist when I grow up. So my childhood was completely different from how I am right now. Yeah, I would always draw in church. That was the only way I was able to stay up. My mom was passing me a little pamphlet. So instead of popping my leg and telling me to wake up, she'll give me a little pamphlet drawing so I can stay up throughout the whole service. But yeah, that is it.
So at what age did you decide that this is what you wanted to do as a career? When did that shift happen?
Super late, actually. Again, like I said, I grew up playing nothing but sports. So I thought when I was going to college, I was going to play football. And when I got to college and I was about to do all the walk-on stuff, I had no intentions to major in art or anything. I was just focused on walking on for the football team, yada, yada, yada. And then some stuff happened and I took that as a sign. I was like, all right, maybe I shouldn't be playing football no more. I've done it all my life, so might as well do something different. And probably it was 19, 18. Yeah, it was I was 19 years old and I was like, all right, I'll major in art. That was my second semester in college. So I was like, all right, let's give this a little shot. Because that's all I really knew for real. It was just football and sketching on the side.
Wow. So when you started really getting into art, did you have moments where you would think of concepts to create artwork, or were you just copying off of things? What was your creative process when you first started as opposed to now?
When I first started, I would really just copy off what I would see, cartoons, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon. I used to sell Pokemon drawings to classmates in school, stuff like that. So I would just start copying what I was seeing, go from there. And then my brother, he one day was like, hey, you gotta stop copying, dude. You got some kind of talent. So he gave me my first real sketchbook. Because at first it was just random pages and stuff like that, computer paper. And then he gave me a sketchbook and he wrote a little note in it, basically encouraging me to create my own stuff. And then from that point, I just started creating my. It was still influenced by what I was seeing, but it was starting to become my own characters and stuff like that. Then I started really thinking about, all right, what I want my person to do, how I want my person to stand, stuff like that. Yeah.
I really do like that, and I like that you've taken the things that you are inspired by, such as like comic books and cartoons. But the nice thing that I like about your work is you shift it. I think like me growing up, I never saw like Black girls in cartoons as much as I
Yeah.
did Black boys. But even if Black boys are represented, it was maybe in 2 or 3 cartoons out of 25.
Hmm.
But that's what I like about your work, where I see that you still have that feel from where you came from, like your childhood and those ideas of like cartoons, but
Hmm.
you've made it so that representation is more than just one side of what a comic or cartoon style can be like.
Yeah.
You depict Black women in a very beautiful sense
Thank you.
in your artwork. My question is it intentional that you don't put skin tones on your art pieces? Like I noticed that they're very colorful and they're not like a skin tone texture. Can you elaborate more about like why you choose to use different colors?
I try to stick with like, kind of like bright, vibrant colors, but still kind of like give you, along with the features, of course, but still
Mm-hmm.
kind of like bring you to give you the idea. This is a Black woman. This is a person of color. Um, it is done by choice. I've been starting to experiment with like using more browns and golds and stuff like that to like kind of be like more obvious, like, nah, this is a Black woman. But before that, it was like I would try to like use dark purples or grayish violets and stuff like that. But like I just really like color, but I still want you to know this is a Black woman. Don't get it confused. So
Yeah.
that was always the intentions with that.
But that's cool because even because you use different colors,
Hmm.
I never thought that it wasn't a Black woman because you did a good job of like maybe using afros or like the textures of Black women's hair, or
Yeah.
you would, represent the physique as a Black woman's body. So it was very much, obvious what you were doing. And that's what I appreciate about your work. I don't know if
Thank you.
the colors were intentional for what you were choosing because you use reds and you use purples, but even with the color red, where it evokes power, do you choose colors based off of meaning or just what you're inspired by?
It's a little bit of 50-50. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to say every piece I sit down and like, no, I want this. I'm going to be intentional about everything. But I will say there are times like I purposely choose like a color, like, violet is the color of royalty. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of times that there was a phase where I would use a lot of like shades of violet just to like, this is royal. This is the regal stuff I'm working with right now. I want you to feel that. So with that, I love gold, so I'll always combine those two together. If I'm using purple of any kind of like sense, there's somewhere in there, no matter how tiny or how large it is going to be gold in there because I want
Mm-hmm.
that feel of like, establish that powerful, regal, that feeling to it. Like this is some royalty.
Nice. We are living in a time where the world is standing in solidarity for equality and justice for Black people. Do you feel any obligation as an artist to use your art as a vehicle for promoting the diversity of Blackness that you speak on?
Yes. Um, I'm not very good. I've tried my hand at trying to like be very political with my paintings, and like they all came out very terrible. They never seen the light of day to anybody, but I have tried multiple times. So I try to like use what I can do and use like my skill, my strong points, and try to like still get the message across in some kind of way. Um, yeah, so like from paintings to like strong Black women or strong Black men, it's some kind of futuristic, but like I love Afrofuturism.
Mm,
So I've always tried to like put that in my paintings to kind of like like equality. Like we like that sci-fi stuff. We love that sci-fi stuff. Let me be clear about that. So yeah, I try to always pull it out like that way.
so between you and I think we have an idea of what Afrofuturism is. But for our listeners, can you explain what that means to you and kind of how that influences your work?
Oh man, that's a hard question to answer. I would Afrofuturism to me is like like for real, like we are the future. Like we was the
Yeah.
past and we the future for real, for real. Um, from like the clothes that we design, the clothes that we wear, like stuff all around that, like the tech that we can like. it sounds so cliche, but like the Black Panther stuff is pretty much like my answer right there.
Yeah.
Everything that was in that movie is like everything that I was like envisioning priorhand. So that's why I kind of love that movie in the sense of like the visuals itself,
Mm-hmm.
because that's everything that I like imagine like our future would be, you know?
Definitely. And my idea, like, I was listening to this podcast on NPR, and it was a whole podcast about Afrofuturism. But the amazing thing that was quoted in that, and I'm sure like you've seen it on t-shirts and stuff, is the quote, "We are our ancestors' wildest dreams." And
Mm,
it's like everything that we are now in our current present day, I don't think our ancestors had an idea of what would be possible for us, you
yeah,
know, like where we came from until where we are now, like we are living and breathing Afrofuturism, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Whereas like
absolutely.
I felt like in our history, I think our future may not have been panned out this way for how society wanted Black people to function. But can you
Yeah,
imagine how resilient we've been able to move forward and just like be amazing, brilliant people that
yeah,
are
mm,
that overcome so many obstacles? And you know, I think that's the definition of Afrofuturism mixed with science fiction and us being in space and all these beautiful stories that we're able to create.
yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen like the like not the last one, probably like 2 episodes ago, the Lovecraft Country?
Yes, I
That
have.
you know what part I'm talking about, right?
Yes,
Because I
absolutely.
don't want nobody get no spoilers in, but that
Right.
part right there, that hit me right in the heart. I was like,
Exactly.
that's
And
it right
that's why I love stories like that too, or the fact that we had so many people that were vehicles for us to pursue all of these different stories or
there.
to paint the type of stuff that you're making, you know? Like
Yeah,
I rarely see like a Black man or a Black woman just focus on those type of things, you know, like that are so heavy into cartoons and so heavy into comics, but also doing a really brilliant job of representation, you know? Like it's
oh yeah,
very, what you're doing is very Black, but it's also very universal in what people appreciate as far as cartoons and animation and
oh
all,
yeah,
all of that stuff. So it works, you know, like it's almost like you're touching on both, even if whether or not you were intentionally doing it.
yeah, oh
Yeah.
yeah. That,
Yeah. So I know we met like 6 or 7 years ago, and we've had a
it's been that
couple of,
long. Damn.
yeah, it's been a while. It's almost 10 years.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah. And when I think of it, I'm like, it felt like yesterday, but I feel
Yeah, it
so much
definitely has.
different as a person now than when we were working back at Art Jams. Like, completely amazing experience. But now that we're in this space and time, how do you feel that your work is evolving as you've matured and as you've, you know, entered a new stage in your life, as far as just being a man and the experiences that we have of 2020? Like, where do you see your art from now until maybe 3 years from now?
Where I see it from now, I see it evolving in a more sense of like me paying more attention to what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
From like when I first met you at like art jams, what I was doing, I still was mindful of what I was doing, but I just wanted to like make some really cool shit.
Mm-hmm.
But like that was it. That was like I just want to make something that looks really cool. There's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. But as I grew from that point, like especially hanging around with you, Michelle, and everyone else, like I started to like and getting around like other artists
Right.
and kind of like feeding off your energy, I started to put more feeling into it, more thought and things like that. I see it evolving and from going from just trying to make something look cool to kind of like putting some kind of more feeling and kind of more meaning into it, while still like maintaining that cool base that I
Mm.
really I still love it. Like if I'm going to paint something, it's gonna be have some kind of cool factor to it, either to me or to somebody else. But I just see it like growing from there all the way to like just having more thought, more details, more thought provoking things in it. You know?
Definitely. Yeah. Awesome. So there are many ways that artists identify themselves. Some choose to be called creatives, others fine artists, and so on. How do you identify yourself as an artist?
Uh, I think I'm plain and simple. And like I'm an artist. Like it is what it is. Like I'm a weeb. Like I'm really into like the nerdy cultures and cartoons and anime and all the movies and things like that. Like so I'm just plain and simple, just an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What materials do you use to evoke like the image that you want, or any piece that you're doing? What are like your main materials that you use?
Main go-tos are just acrylic paint, and now I'm starting to get into it. I think it's called modeling paste. It's kind of got
Mhm.
like a little flexy. When it dries, it kind of like you kind of like play with it a little bit.
Is it resin?
Resin is like it's expensive, so like I don't use it all the time, but I love resin.
Hmm.
I normally top it off with resin if like I really want the colors to pop a lot more.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I stick with mainly acrylics, and I kind of like just like thick it, throwing on thick, like layers after layers to kind of get that clean look. But if I
Hmm.
feel like it needs a little bit more of a pop that many more layers can't like really achieve, that's when a layer that's when a resin comes in. That resin
Okay.
takes it to like another level right there.
So what was you were describing that other molding thing before I interrupted you about
Oh, no.
resin. What was that? What was that called again? Or like what were
I
you
think it's
describing it
called
to be?
modeling paste. I
Mm-hmm.
think, and it dries very thick. If you put it on thick, dries is yeah, thick. I think it's called modeling paste though.
What does it do? Like what does it do to the
I use that
imager?
for textures.
Okay.
Um, if I want to like kind of give it like a little. I like grunge textures, so I'll put that on, and I'll like sometimes I'll make a like a little rake little tool. Like I'll take like a wide tooth comb or anything that's just wide. Sometimes I take cut little stencils out of cardboard and kind of like just drag it along,
Oh, okay.
kind of just go like that, trying to get that little grunge. And then I take sandpaper when it dries, and I kind of like just rub it all over to kind of give it more of that grainy, grungy feel.
Mm.
Yeah, that I think that's definitely my go-to for textures.
That's awesome. So I don't know, like I never asked you, and we've known each other for so long, but do you have any formal training in art, or are you mostly self-taught? What was your experience as far as, your journey as an artist?
Journey as an artist, it so yeah, I went to school undecided, of course, because I'm thinking I'm playing football. But I think my second semester, that's when I was like, all right, let's give this art stuff a try. And probably about a good, I was there for 5 years, so so I was there from like 2006 to 2011, 10. I can't remember when I
What school
graduated.
was this?
Delaware State University.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a shout out to my Hornets, the
Nice.
Delaware State University. So yeah, that's I guess it's kind of a little bit of a formal training. I was not the greatest art student out there. I got a lot of B's, a lot of C's because I just wouldn't stick to like the script itself.
Hmm.
Like if we would do still drawings and stuff like that, like I would always throw in like a little character in the background, and like my teacher was very traditional and they hated that. So I would get like B's and C's off. I'll still do the assignment, but I would just get like lower grades because I did extra, which is so weird to me. It's kind of stupid, but I mean, hey, I mean, it is what I lived and I learned. But yeah, I guess that was my training. But after college, I think I learned
Hmm.
uh, more after college from YouTube University. So
I agree. Um, Another thing that I wanted to say about like grading in college is I think it's a whole bunch of nonsense. I
absolutely,
do feel like if art is everything, there shouldn't be numbers or letters
yeah,
that
absolutely.
categorize what it is that you're doing. But I
Mm-hmm.
get that, maybe in a collegiatic or I'm trying to find the word, an
Yeah,
educational setting, perhaps because you have to learn the skills and the techniques, then the grading comes into play. But I've always felt weird about that system when it comes to art, because
yeah,
we
it
all
was.
see things differently and we all interpret things. And
Yeah, it's not fair.
yeah, if it's a space to be creative, then let's
Yeah, everyone
let's
has a different vision of what's perfect or what's great.
exactly.
So it's just weird that I would get a B because you thought it was like okay, but I'm sitting there thinking it was amazing.
Exactly. Yeah. Does uh canvas size matter to you? Like, what do you normally work in as far as size?
I love large scale canvases. I
Mm-hmm.
recently have trying to like kind of force myself to use smaller ones. I think what I did last week was like a 9 by 12.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, for me, for some people that's super easy. For me, that's a super hard challenge because I'm used to like wide brush strokes and like hearing it, but I kind of got to force myself to like be like more delicate, more precise with my movements. But I definitely prefer wide, large scale canvases. Like I just finished like it was a piece of board. It was like 30 by 48. So it was like a large piece of one. And yeah, so I have a canvas that's actually, it's 6 feet by 4 feet. Like I stole it from college. Like it's almost 11 years old now. So
Wow.
I still don't know what to do with it, but you know, kind of like a dog when it chases a car. Like, all right, now that I got the car, what I'm gonna do with it? So I got
Mm-hmm.
that canvas from college, and I still don't know what to do with it. I just
Yeah.
love large canvases.
I'm sure it'll come. I love large canvases too, but I have to admit the only large scale piece I've done is probably 4 feet.
Oh, word?
So I have work to do. And I would
Okay.
love to explore large scale because I feel like most of the ideas that I have would function or like look a little bit better in large scale, but I've always done like, 18 by 24 down.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of
Yeah,
sad.
yeah. That to me, that's like that would be, if I was doing commissions, that would be considered my small.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, but that's still a good size though.
Yeah, it's good, but it's like it's timid. It's like a timid size. It's like
Yeah,
you're not willing to go out, you know?
yeah, yeah.
So I love seeing how organized and curated your work is on social media, even the space you created, like online. What is important to you as an artist on the business side of things?
It's a lot of stuff that's important on the business side. You just gotta. It sounds like, you know, everyone says it, but you just gotta like know your worth. But at the same time, you gotta also know your audience at the time, because
Mm,
because any, like, I can of course like charge anything, like, oh, this painting is definitely worth $1,000, but my core audience, or just anyone, just like nobody just walking around with that. Like
yeah.
the regular person ain't just gonna walk around. Let me just drop 1,000 on that, stuff like that. You just have to like pay attention to like who you're promoting to, who you're trying to sell to.
Right.
Um, of course, I know my worth, but at the same time, I know the people who are watching me, who are fans of my work and stuff like that. And I'm not about to rob their pockets. It's too
Hmm.
much of that going on already. So I try to like still stay in like a affordable range for everybody, but still won't put me in the negative. Like
Right.
it kind of, sometimes I break even, and I'm fine with that. There's been times I've sold paintings like way lesser than what I should have, but hey, as long as it's in someone's hands, it's good promotion. For real,
Definitely.
for real. Like as long as it's not just your eyes on it, you're doing good. For real.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. And I like what you said about knowing your worth because I think us as artists, we don't always do things because of money. We do
mm,
it because we love it and we do it because
yeah.
we want to share our work. So I get that. And I recently discovered that you can put people on payment plans too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So,
I got a whole little sheet for people to read for payment plans, just to let
nice.
you know. So I went to school for art management, so I kind of get the
Ah,
business side of
right.
art. So I kind of know a little bit. I'm not gonna say I'm business savvy, but I kind of know what I'm doing. So, but I like to help. I like to work with people. Like if you love art, art isn't cheap. So you're gonna come out of pocket for it, but like not everyone, like I said, is gonna drop 1,000. So you got trying to work with the people is always a good idea. You know what I mean?
Excellent. And I like that you said that you went to school for arts management because I'm very much obsessed with that side of things, is the
Mm-hmm.
management side of art. As an art manager with that experience, what advice can you give to artists who are starting out or who are established but want to be able to make a living for their work?
Make a living. I would say you kind of want to be on both sides of the fence. You want to do work that appeals to you, and that like kind of like you pour your feeling into, and you kind of want to do work that kind of like appeals to an audience. Like
Hmm.
you like at the time, like right now, a lot of people will love celebrities, and like of course they want Beyonce in their household, so make something like that, like a celebrity that's popular right now, pop
Right.
art. Something that relates to people. Like for right now, for me, like if I just make nothing but like cartoon or comic book pieces, that's only going to relate to like a certain small little circle of people. But if I
Right.
make something that's like wide, like Obama, everyone can relate to Obama. From people who read comics to people who stay on CNN. That's more, you want to reach out to a large audience, but you still want to make work that appeals to you, to still have your feeling to it, because you don't want to just get stuck on the business side of it, because it's not fun no more.
Mm.
And you're gonna lose yourself, and you're not gonna want to do this no more, because if you just do it for the money, you're not gonna have a good time.
What are some of the top things that an artist would need if you're trying to go that route, as far as like making art your full time? What things must they have?
A plan. You
Mm-hmm.
need a plan. First time I went full-time artist, I fell flat on my face because I didn't have a plan.
Mm.
I can't even give my plan, because everyone's plan works different. Everyone's idea of like success is different. Everyone's plan is
Right.
going to be different depending on what your situation is. So like, you might have a big support system, you might have a small support system.
Mm.
Either way, you need to cater that plan around your situation.
Definitely.
But that's the number one thing I will tell, if you're trying to do this full time. You have to have a plan. Now, it's not just because you have a plan don't mean it's guaranteed to work, but it's going to help.
Right.
If you just go in there blindly, like, oh, I'm just going to paint all day, and yeah, people are going to buy this. Nah, you're going to be SOL. You're going to be SOL. Like, you definitely got to sit down and like look up business plans, ways to attack it. Google is your friend.
Yeah.
Google is definitely my friend, everyone's friend. It's always there for free. Like, you
Definitely.
definitely have to be on that, like, all the time. And you're going to be putting in more hours than you would at a normal job. So get used to that.
Yeah. And I agree what you said about having a plan, and that not everybody's plan is the same as an artist. I hear that so much from artists. Even from getting advice myself when I was starting off. It's never like going to be the same path, but I do believe like having a website and your social media is gonna be a benefit for you as an artist
Mm-hmm.
to grow that following and grow your followers and
Yes.
get new clients that you may not have had before.
Mm-hmm. You
Um,
definitely need a
yeah,
website.
yeah,
Like, it's free ones out there. I get it. Some people don't want to get it because it's going to cost a little bit, and it's kind of an investment. But I mean, at the same time, if you don't got it, you don't got it. But there are some free ones out there. So like, but you definitely need one, because people want that. Like, you
right,
can't handle everything on your own through DMs. It gets tiring, and sometimes, you don't respond fast enough for people. People want that quick reaction right there. If they want something, they need it like right then and there. Like, 5 minutes from now, they might not want it no more.
definitely.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I want to talk about one of your art pieces that I really, really like. If you can just
Okay.
like elaborate more on the story. But if it's of a woman who's topless and she's kind of like maybe elevating in the air, let me see if I can find it, because I know you've done a million.
Is she meditating with forearms?
She is, and it's almost like a digital image
I
from
think
what
I
I
know. She
yeah.
has an afro. She's brown skin, violet background.
Yes. Let me
I'm
see.
trying to. It's coming to me. I think I sold that a couple of years ago, and that was like one of my favorites. If that's what the one you're referring to.
Hold on, let me check. Here we are.
It sounds so crazy because like I'm trying to sit here and remember my own painting. Like, I paint so much, like, and like
Yes,
I love them all, so it's kind of hard to keep track of them all.
this is it. I'm gonna cut this part on the podcast.
Oh, that one. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So I just wanted to know more about that story. And before you start, I see that we have 9 minutes and 16 seconds.
Okay. Got you.
So we can keep the story short and then we'll conclude it.
Okay. The story behind that one was I think that was like a couple of years ago I made that. It was the title of it was called what was it? I'm trying to keep it short as possible, but what was the title? It was called Gawd is a thick woman with curves. That was the name of it. And that's why you see like the planets kind of like revolving around her. Over her wrist, you see like the moon, and you see on the other wrist, you see the sun. It's like she's the creator of it all. I have another painting that kind of like rolls into that, called The Creator, and it's a woman with dreads, and she's like in her hands, she's cusping, like, so she's creating someone in her hands right then and there. So yeah, that was the whole inspiration behind that one that you just showed.
Mm-hmm.
That one was called "God is a Thick Woman with Curves." Like the
Nice.
title says it all.
I really like that piece. And are you dabbling into digital work more now, or is it just another thing that you're adding onto the list?
So like digital, I do both at the same time. Like a
Mm.
lot of my prints. So what a lot of people do with their prints is like they'll take a picture of it and then like print it out that way. I don't have like the good equipment for that. So what I do is like I'll take the original sketch and I'll just from the bottom up just build on it. So all my prints are like handmade, like
Nice.
straight from a sketch, and like I'm coloring in hand by piece, like putting it all together. So it's to me, my prints are like another form of an original because I'm honestly doing that from the scratch.
That's really, really awesome. So we've talked so much about your work, but what are some artists that inspire you outside of like what inspires you to create? Who are like some of the artists that you look up to, some of the artists that you kind of like follow to see what they're doing to, maybe motivate or inspire you?
Um, from the like well-known perspective, I would say I'm definitely I he's dead, like Andy Warhol,
Yeah.
Roy Lichtenstein, Keith Haring definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Funny enough, Big Sean, like he's not a visual artist, but he has an artistic mind, and
Mm-hmm.
like whoever his creative team is, they always put something together that's visually pleasing. So like I'm always like watching his music videos to kind of like get inspiration for colors, like different colorways and things like that. It's like whoever's putting those together is like kudos to them because it always drives me to like do better and like I wanna do something like that. I wanna play with those colors, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
More peer wise, uh Michelle definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know if she even knows she's like a mentor because like since like art jams, I'm like, yo,
Right.
I like her style. Like I like what she's doing.
And
Um,
it's funny. I hate to cut you off real quick, but as
yeah.
far as like Michelle goes, like I always seen you guys work as like you've come from the same art family,
Hmm.
like you're kind of art
Yeah.
siblings because you guys have like the childlike style of art that kind
Hmm.
of brings you back to that nostalgic feeling of like just
Yeah.
being free and colorful and young. And I love that about both of you's work. But go
Oh
ahead.
yeah. Oh no, it's all good. Yeah, definitely. I feel that. I feel the same as like yo, we're like kindred art spirits. Like I look at her,
Mhm.
I'm like, all right, because like she got me into like pour paints and stuff like that, like
Ah,
different like little things like that. I'm like, I kind of want to do that too. So I'll like hit her up, like, yo, how did you do X, Y, and Z? And she'll tell me.
yeah.
She'll always break it down. See, like Michelle. There's a couple of people on Instagram. It's hard these days because you don't know people's real names. Like you
Right.
just
And
know
it's like
their
you know their
IG handle.
Instagram.
Uh, is this guy called Paper Frank. I enjoy his stuff a lot. Like he has like a cartoony kind of like
Oh,
vibe to him as
nice.
well. This guy Nuri Dur, he's very good. He used Copic markers
Mm.
and stuff like a lot of things. A lot of the people who inspire me don't necessarily work with just acrylic paints like I would. Like I'll kind of like bite off of that, kind of like look
Yeah.
at it and like study their work and kind of apply it with acrylic paints and stuff like that.
I would like to see your work on clothes, like for you to do like dabble into wearable art. Like
I'm
that
trying.
would be
Actually, this
dope.
one I'm wearing right now is
Oh, nice.
I'm
Send
dabbling
me
in it
send me
right
the
now.
details for that so I can
Oh yeah.
support. I have the little one wearing one too, but yeah, like your stuff would probably look really dope on like
Oh yeah.
wearable
Appreciate
art.
it. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
trying.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast
Oh,
today.
thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I enjoyed this a lot.
Yeah, it was wonderful. But before we go, please let us know how we can follow you, where we can check out your work, and just see what you're doing as far as the artistry goes.
Okay. So I'm most active on Instagram. SnowGawd. At SnowGawd. SNOWGAWD.
Mhm.
Spell it like that. I spell it the way I say it. My website snowgawd.com. Yeah, so I'm more active on those two right there. Facebook, not so much anymore, and Twitter, like I'm here and there. But if you really want to like get a response from me quickly, definitely Instagram.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I hope
Thank
you have a
you.
lovely day.
You do the same.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.